But basically what we're looking for is whenever you're meal prepping or grabbing fast food, frozen food, whatever, we're looking to get a protein and a plant. And the protein is for muscle gain and maintenance.
Welcome to the Triple P Podcast, premier, professional, and proactive, brought to you by the Ohio Fire Chiefs Association. I'm your host, Clayton O'Brien, and I'm the fire chief for the city of Oregon. All right, welcome to episode number 33. This is going to be with Megan Lautz, who's a nutritionist, and she actually focuses on first responders. So that's what she does all the time, and we're excited about being able to talk to her and about all the things that she's doing to help us kind of live a better and healthier lifestyle within the fire department as we begin and try to figure out what things we should be eating, because we're all guilty, including myself, of all not the best things when there's donuts on the counter in there or, energy drinks all day. So I do have our co-host, Josh Eberly from Findlay Fire here today. And we will get right into it. But one of the things that we're going to do, we're going to start with adding a new segment at the beginning of each of these podcasts where Josh and I are going to talk about just essentially some new news or some current news that's kind of going on in the fire service, where we're going to talk about the things that are sent out in that in-command extra that gets blasted out on Tuesdays through the Ohio Fire Chiefs Association. Also going to talk about the different job postings that are on the OFCA website, and then anything else that we see that we feel fit to be worthy enough to share with all of you and all of our audience. If you do have something that you would like us to share, don't hesitate to reach out to Josh or I on LinkedIn. You can look up the Triple P Podcast Facebook page. Shoot us a message. If there's something that you want to get out there, we're certainly willing to help spread the word for you. So we'll kick it over to you, Josh, if you want to just start talking about maybe some new current events that are coming up.
Yeah, sure. A couple of things that I wanted to touch on was just we'll start off with the events that the OFCA has coming up. Formerly, it was called the Ohio Fire and Rescue Officer Development Conference. That's kind of a mouthful. Now it's just called the ODC, the Officer Development Conference, and that's the Ohio Fire Chiefs Association Development Conference in July. That's also down in Columbus. That's the week-long Monday through Friday conference. So you can check that out on the website. I don't remember what hotel is hosting that one.
The Hilton at Easton.
The Hilton at Easton.
Yep.
Okay.
Hilton at Easton will be that one.
Perfect. So we've got the summer conference coming up, the ODC, and then the last thing is in the fall, September 27th and 28th. I haven't attended this, but I think you did last year down at Salt Fork.
Yeah, No, that was at last year was at Deer Creek. Because back at Salt Fork was getting worked on last year.
Gotcha.
So it was at Deer Creek. This year, I think it's back to Salt Fork, though.
It is. Back at Salt Fork, that's the Ohio Fire Chiefs Resource Symposium. I don't have any experience with that because I haven't been to that one, but I've heard good things about it, so I'm hoping to make it this year.
See what I love about that one? And well, let me touch real quick. You said the website says 28th and 29th.
Yeah, September 20. The application says September 27th and 28th, so we'll have to figure that out.
Okay. So for any OFCA board members, if you're listening, the website says the event is from September 28th to 29th. The application itself says the 27th and 28th, so we want to double check those dates. But I will say what's really, really nice about that is, one, it was my first experience way back in 2015 when I first went to what they called, it was the New Fire Chief Symposium. So still currently a lot of new fire chiefs that I've met. And this one they've changed to like a resource symposium, which I think just goes along with where the board does a retreat at the same time that there's so many members being able to be there and network. But because of the small group and the setting, it's not like the conference where when you're at the conference throughout the day, everybody's, hustling and bustling, and then everybody kind of splits for dinner, where here you're eating all meals together and you're doing all the things together. You're just at that state park lodge, and I think it's pretty awesome. So, Yeah, that's a good one.
I think it's awesome that it's down there too, because that's a beautiful area and the lodge is great.
Yeah, Salt Fork is really nice. Just one heck of a drive from Northwest Ohio.
Yeah, get you on the road for a little bit there, but it's cool to spread out these events across the state as well.
That's right. Well, you want to talk about, I'll add to that, the March Madness is coming up. So every year with the Ohio Fire Chiefs, they do a March Madness kickoff for all new memberships, get a 50% off until March 31st. So think about that. I mean, the membership alone is only $100 anyway. So 50% off, you get your first year's membership for $50. New members will be entered into a drawing to win the registration for the 2025 OFCA annual conference. And so please note that on the registration. And but that does not include the expenses. So, all right.
There was one other thing I wanted to talk about. And if you go to the website, it's the picture of Governor DeWine on there. I think this is a really cool opportunity for somebody. So it says on the website, it says OFCA seeks qualified individuals to fill a seat on the state's Residential Construction Advisory Committee. So I looked into this a little bit. There's a couple stipulations. You have to be certified fire inspector, and you've had to been doing that for 10 years or more. So you got to have some experience. The OFCA submits 3 names to the Department of Commerce. Because this committee sits under the Department of Commerce and advises them on creating an updated residential building code or fire code. So it's kind of a cool opportunity. If anybody's interested in that, check out that on the OFCA website.
Nice.
Let's talk about some job openings.
Let's do it. The first job posting that they have listed here, which I think they go by the most recent, is if you didn't know this, you can go on the OFCA website and you can go under the resource tab and it goes to jobs. Now, I'm not 100% sure if you have to be a member to be able to get to it. I don't think you do. But just go to the resource tab and then you'll be able to see just different open jobs, throughout the state. So firefighter paramedic position at Northwestern Joint Fire District, just released on 2/24/25. Looking for lieutenant and at that same place, the Northwestern Joint Fire District, also posted on 2/24/25. Moving down the list, we got on the February 20th, they posted a full-time firefighter paramedic preferred, or firefighter EMT for Turtle Creek Township. On February 19th, they have laterals open for the Dayton Fire Department, so lateral firefighter paramedic, and that was on February 19th. Looks like on February 11th, firefighter paramedic, City of Huber Heights. And then February 7th, it was posted as a platoon chief, full-time platoon chief at Bath Township. And it looks like they have 2 positions for the platoon chief posted here from February 7th. So that's the list of the jobs that are out there. If you're interested, again, you're going to go to that resource tabs on the Ohio Fire Chiefs website, scroll down to jobs, and that'll bring you right to it.
Yeah, people have to check that out because I know there's a couple different Bath Townships in the state of Ohio. I'm not 100% familiar with Northwestern Joint Fire District. I think it's in Union County, but I don't know that for sure. So anybody who's looking for a job, check out those listings on the website.
I think that wraps up our little news section, though, and we're going to get right into it. Episode number 33 with Megan Lautz, and we're excited to have Megan. She has a lot to offer. And I'm going to read her little bio here before we get started right into the interview. So it says she's not the average dietitian. She leads nutrition and fitness campaigns that target the unpredictable lifestyle of the first responder. She thrives on translating complicated health information into manageable behavioral changes that optimize performance, enhance recovery, and promote long, healthy retirements. Wouldn't we all like that?
Yeah, that's kind of the goal.
That is the goal, right? First responders face a unique challenge when it comes to health. The career increases the risk of our cardiovascular disease, cancer, and mental health disorders. So finding the energy and time to improve health can be frustrating. Ain't that the truth? These challenges have inspired me to listen more regularly and update my approach. So I know that she's more of this hands-on approach, and she'll talk about that, I'm sure, where she's been in the fire stations and kind of living alongside different firefighters, and currently works with the Fairfax County, Virginia Fire Department. And so she's well in tune to what firefighters do and have. So her interest is in the first responder lifestyle. She's contributed to this success with CPAT participants, recruits, and leadership. So my health coaching participants have lost an average of 14 pounds, up to 8% body fat, and up to 30-point reduction in cholesterol. Her nutrition curriculum for recruits has effectively eliminated hydration-related injury and the past 6 recruit classes. And whatever word she has there, she's going to have to tell us what it is. That's right. Why I know you conveniently see me skip right over it.
Yeah, rhabdo. I don't know what the official name is. It's rhabdo.
Yeah, I don't know either. So she does believe in the boots-on-the-ground approach to wellness, as we just talked about. She's trained and passed the CPAT herself. She's always up for a ride-along and for a fitness challenge. She can also often find herself at a station or an academy teaching nutrition, fitness, mobility, and just hanging out to learn more. She's currently working with the Fairfax County, Virginia, Fire and Rescue in Virginia, and she does provide freelance counseling, presentations, and more through her business, RescueRD. So reach out to Megan at reach out to Megan. Her email is megan@rescuerd.com to connect. And honestly, the way that I connected with Megan was on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So you can just reach out to Megan on LinkedIn as well. She was very responsive through that. And I think she's just willing to help get the word out. And I took a look at her website as well. And she's got a lot of different things on there that she covers. And yeah, so it's good. So
it'll be interesting to talk to her. We'll let her talk more about this. Excuse me, but she's got her own podcast. She's got a couple recipe books, and she's got her website. So she's got a lot of resources out there. It'll be great to talk about that stuff.
Yep. Welcome, Megan.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm Megan Lautz. I'm a registered dietitian that specializes in first responders. I am a civilian, so the blood, the guts kind of knocked me out of the first respondering profession, quite frankly. So initially I thought I wanted to be an athletic trainer, and then I realized I had to touch people and wasn't interested in that. So I decided to be, a fruit and veggie nag is kind of what I do now. But I've been working with first responders for large public safety agencies, fire and police in the DC area since 2017. So that's about 1,400 police officers and about 1,600 career firefighters. So I am actually hired on full-time to do one-on-one coaching, smoothie demos, wrap demos, presentations, all the nutrition stuff as an embedded member of a fire and police department.
Wow, that's super cool.
That's fantastic. How do you get your message out to such a large audience effectively? Do you try to do that, or is it just individual?
Specifically? Yeah. So well, to clarify, I work full time for that department, and then I also have a side gig called RescueRD, which is where my social media is kind of based out of. So they also don't mind sharing that way. We actually just hired a nutritionist as well to help with like the health coaching side. So she starts on Monday. But it's as much as we can. We also have 4 strength coaches, athletic trainer, physical therapist. So we have a lot more force multipliers than like the standard department, right? So really it's just kind of trying to be everywhere I can be, which is station visits, academy, our gym, OC health clinic. I don't really sit still very well.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect too much downtime with that large of an audience, in those departments around there.
Yeah. Very progressive fire department, and puts the health and wellness of their firefighters at the forefront for sure, because I know we're so guilty around here of just everybody wants to buy firefighters food, and so they drop off food here. I will say you can walk over to the kitchen right now. There's 3 boxes of donuts on the kitchen table. And it's this like this on a regular basis. And I feel like I read something somewhere that talked about firefighter grazing. Somebody did some sort of test where they almost like took all the stuff, all the sweet treats and stuff away, and just put like vegetables and things out there to do the grazing for that. Because firefighters are going to eat what's ever out.
Yeah, I can elaborate on that. So it wasn't me who did that. That was Dr. Jill Joyce out of OSU. She's a dietitian who she basically got some grant funding to donate a bunch of like healthier options. So veggies, fruit, granola bars, nuts and seeds, and that kind of thing. And the rule was in order to receive the snacks at the station, you had to hide all those treats, right? So those 3 boxes of donuts had to be behind a closed pantry or a closed door. And what she found was when the healthier stuff was on the counters, firefighters ate an additional pound of produce per shift. So that out of sight, out of mind, everybody kind of like, that's not going to make that big of a difference. It actually does make a difference, because what happens is y'all come back from a call and you take a quarter of a donut, and then you come back from another call and then you take a quarter of a donut, and then you just keep quartering of a donut and tell the dietitian you've only had a quarter when you've had like 6 donuts.
It's so true, because I just walk through and I'm like, I'm not really that hungry, but I don't want to miss out on the donut.
I don't think I've ever eaten a quarter of a donut. I'll be real honest. Like, it's all or nothing.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
I feel like
interesting.
you got, or like it's like a sliver of the brownie and they just keep like shaving off pieces.
That
you
I've
know?
done. Yes.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. So it really is just availability. So if you substitute healthy snacks for the crap ones, you're going to eat the healthy ones.
Probably. Yeah. Or at least if it comes down to visibility, and Dr.
Yeah.
Joyce is like way smarter than me, obviously. But like in the sense that you want to make the healthier options look attractive and available and easy. Whereas in most departments, that's not what's attractive, available, and easy. The donuts are right there on the counter. Everybody's staring at them, So if we put them behind a closed door, they're out of sight, out of mind. They're available if you really want them, but they're not the main thing that you're snacking on all day.
It's so true, because you think about us in the roles that we are, the 8 to 4 position. If I don't pack my lunch, then what are we doing? You're going out and grabbing easeability for fast food or whatever. So I will say I am pretty good about that, about meal prepping, because at least I don't know if it's necessarily healthy food that I'm meal prepping, but that's where you come in, Megan. So, but I at least pack my lunch every day and try not to run out and get fast food. So maybe give us some tips on some meal preps.
Yeah. So I actually have a free recipe book on my website, RescueRD.com, and it's intended for station dinners, but it also works really well for meal prep. So it's $5 to $6 a head, though it's probably, edging up towards $8 in this economy,
Yeah, true.
Shifts of 6, 10, and 14, half a pound of protein per person. So it kind of hits a lot of those standards, and also accommodates for larger portion sizes. I don't really like to nag firefighters about portion sizes specifically on shift, or like limit how much is made at dinners, because you may be using that for leftovers the next shift. You may have ran a higher intensity calls or more drills that day. I just don't know how your day went, and I'd rather there be enough food left over, right? So that's a great like free option for meal prep. But basically what we're looking for is whenever you're meal prepping or grabbing fast food, frozen food, whatever, we're looking to get a protein and a plant. And the protein is for muscle gain and maintenance, regardless of if your goal is fat loss or muscle gain, or both at the same time, right? And then the plant is to get enough fiber and antioxidants in, which can help with cancer and heart disease prevention, but also keeping you more full and helping you recover from your shift. Now, the plant is a fruit or a veggie, canned, fresh, frozen, doesn't seem to matter. But what a lot of people will be like, okay, well, what about the carb? Most of us, if we're presented with a potato, that is like the first thing that's going on our plates, right? Like, we're going to put the bread and the carb. It's going to be there. The protein in the plant is the piece that people are missing. So that's what I want to be top of mind when people are thinking, what do I meal prep? What do I get from a fast food restaurant? Try to get the leaner protein, try and get a fruit or veggie on there, and you're doing better than most people.
Wow. It
sounds easy.
It's,
it is easy. If you commit to it, it's not difficult.
It's easy when you don't have kids and stuff, though, too. You think about that, like at home on a regular basis, outside the fire department, if you're trying to pack and whatever else. And I remember my kids are all grown now, so it's a little bit easier to be able to do the meal prep and be able to what we're buying. But when the kids were younger, it was just like, you're having chicken nuggets and fries, or whatever else. It never seemed like we could ever have healthy stuff, and it was always carb overload is what it always felt like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a 9-month-old, so, I'm a newer parent, and I'll be honest, my nutrition is not locked and loaded. I used to do bodybuilding when I was younger. Like, it's not that anymore. I just don't have the time or the energy or what feels like the bandwidth to like spend hours in the kitchen chopping and that kind of thing. So it can, what I think a lot of first responders think is that nutrition has to be hard and it has to be miserable in order for it to be effective, when actually you want it to be easy so you can be consistent with it long term, even when you start having more kids, even when you pick up extra overtime or side gigs and that kind of thing. Yes, it should be simple. It should be easy. It may be difficult to implement, but you don't want to make things harder than they need to be.
Yeah, that makes good sense. Because if you do make it easy, then like, well, for example, if I pack the lunch, it's easier just to go get the lunch and make it here, no matter what it is. Still is going to be healthier than going to the fast food place.
Absolutely. I mean, and granted, and I do want to mention, like, fast food, frozen food, like a lot of first responders are like, well, it's not perfect, so screw it, right? I'm going to the Chick-fil-A, so I'm getting the fried sandwich and I'm getting the fried, the French fries or something like that. They just say screw it once they hit it. Compared to, like, I've actually helped some firefighters lose 20 pounds on fast food alone because they don't cook. They have long commutes. They have long shifts. And, asking them to cook is going to be too much for them at that season of their life. So if we shift their fast food choices so that 80% of the time they're making that better choice of a lean protein, a fruit or a veggie somewhere in there, they're going to see progress. Now, again, maybe meal prep helps you minimize those temptations, right? For when you do roll up to the Chick-fil-A. But it's not something that you should just completely throw out the window, because we're going for progress over perfection. And that's really difficult for that black or white thinker to really get down.
That's a pretty good slogan, progress over perfection. I really like that.
Yeah, because you just feel like you're like all in. And then I do feel like that's why a lot of times it fails along the way, because we do make it harder than what it really needs to be, than just doing little bits at a time. Like, okay, so I screwed up today and I ate it like crap, so whatever, I'm done, and then for the next 3 weeks, I'm just, off the rail.
Yes.
And then I find myself like, oh, I did good today, or one meal. And then you try to like build upon that, because then hopefully you're able to stretch that for a few days. I found what's easier for me is maybe a little bit of just portion control. Like, eat what I want to eat, but just do it in portions.
Yeah, absolutely. Portion control can be a big thing. The biggest thing is, if your goal is weight loss, when we're looking at portion control, you're shaving off 10 to 15% of that plate. Whereas a first responder, when their knee-jerk reaction is to just cut that plate in half, and then it's not enough to fuel them, so they end up getting hangry and overeating dinner, or picking up extra things at midnight, 2 a.m., whatever. So keeping in mind that portion control doesn't have to be as extreme as you want it to be initially.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, especially in the first responder community, are guilty of going to those extremes. Like, hey, I'm going to lose weight. So you like immediately restrict your calorie intake to something crazy low, and you try to do this insane deal for a couple of weeks and get the results you want to see. But I'm assuming that essentially never works. Would you agree with that, Megan?
Well, it works until it doesn't, right? So a lot of times people will see that and they're like, oh, well, it worked for me. I lost 20 pounds, and they're coming to me 40 pounds later, gained back, right? And I'm like, did it actually work for you, right? You gained you gained 20 pounds back, right? So I'm seeing this with the carnivore diet now. In 2015, 2017, we had keto, which the carnivore diet is a subset of. What's probably going to end up happening with this diet is people are going to lose weight really quickly. They're going to phase off of it because it's a super restrictive diet. You can only do animal products for so long. And then, the weight will probably come back on when they want to have the cupcake at their kid's birthday, the beer at their captain's retirement, right? So actually, some of my most successful case studies are, in my opinion, people who have lost 20 pounds over the course of 6 months, and then they've kept it off or continued seeing progress for the next year to 2 years, right? And actually what we did is, instead of rehauling their whole diet, we limit to one sweet a shift. We have them make better choices 80% of the time. And we keep the pizza and the cake and the treats and stuff in their diet, but in much smaller quantities. And we save it for when they really want it instead of mindlessly having it throughout the day.
Yeah, that all makes sense to me. I mean, when you really try to restrict yourself, and I totally agree. I've been guilty of following the fad diets in the past. Very limited, or at least short-term success, right?
Well, I think it's because it's so appealing to the type of food that it is. I love eggs. I love bacon. I love meat. So it's appealing in that manner, saying, oh, I could do that really, really easy. But you realize, like, you just really do not have much energy when it comes to, because having no carbs or very little, no energy. I've always found that what I'm taking for you, Megan, first, and I'll jump back to what I've always found, is that what I'm finding from you is just be consistent on whatever you're going to choose to do for a period of time. That helps. That's what we should be measuring the success on. And I would piggyback that on by saying, like, I've always found it's been a little bit easier for me by doing the portion control, because I feel like that is maintainable. But then I've always just kind of had this in the back of my mind, clean eating, high protein, low fat, more vegetables, more fruit, and so, and so when we go grocery shopping on a weekly basis, we do that. And we try to do that. But what I've noticed at the grocery store is how expensive it is. So, in order to eat healthy and to do all these things, financially, it's an impact, it's just so expensive rather than just buying that box food. So what do you hear from firefighters and first responders out there about that?
Yeah, I think it just depends. It depends on the context, and it depends on who's coming to me, because sometimes I get that person, well, it's so expensive for me to eat healthy, but they're spending crazy amounts on fast food and Grubhub. So actually a meal prep program like Mighty Meals or Factor or Freshly Territory, whatever that is actually going to save them money at $9 to $11 a meal. Because when you think about it, a lot of those convenience foods, things like Grubhub, it's like $50 to feed 2 people at home, with all the extra fees. So it comes down to, where are you getting your food? A lot of people also think that they have to go like organic and that kind of thing, or no like non-GMOs. And I think the organic and the non-GMOs is actually overhyped. The benefits are overhyped. The negative of conventional foods is underappreciated, I guess. So if you're worried about having to spend a ton of money for your toddler's organic berries, they don't need to be organic. So just keep that in mind as well. But also there are some cheaper options too. So things like beans, legumes, whole grains, rice. Sometimes even frozen fruits and veggies are a little bit cheaper. So it just is also being strategic about what you're purchasing.
And I've noticed if it wasn't for TikTok to be able to cook these things, like it would be really, really hard to be able to know, like it's one thing to grab a lot of stuff, but there's a few people that my wife and I follow on there that she does a lot of more of the healthier recipes, and that helps a lot.
Yeah. And also there are tons of people on TikTok, Instagram who focus on healthy eating, but they try to keep the costs reasonable. So I really like Budget Bites, BYTES. She does a great job with like inexpensive options that are quick and easy. So, it's definitely possible to eat healthier. The other side of it too is a lot of first responders will say that, and then also think that it imply that supplements are worked into that. So they're spending $80 a month on some greens powder, where you could actually spend $80 a month on more conveniently like pre-chopped veggies, pre-chopped fruit, that kind of stuff. So a lot of first responders are actually spending too much money in the wrong areas when it comes to general health and wellness.
That makes good sense. Now, you had on your website, I noticed that you have some like cut sheets for meal preps and things like that, right? Yeah.
Yep. I have a meal prep guide. I'm actually working on a book with fire engineering called Fueling Fire, which will be not only like a guide for first responders specific to them on nutrition, like how to eat on shift, that kind of thing, but also it'll have over 70 recipes that will be quick, easy to meal prep and then also cook on shift.
Yeah, I love that.
Man, that's fantastic. Congratulations. I hope that I'll check that out when it comes out.
Yeah, it's probably going to be like 2-ish years from what I've heard. I'm in the process of writing it now, so hopefully we'll have it out in like 2026, 2027, hopefully at the
Awesome.
latest.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Now I also seen you work with a lot of CPAT individuals, or they may come to you to prepare to pass the CPAT. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I haven't done as much CPAT as I did when I was with a prior agency. They had CPAT mentoring, so we spent a lot of time with our CPAT candidates. But if you are eating for the CPAT, or depending on where you are in the country, some people call it the PAT. Basically, what the biggest mistakes that I see with that is not eating prior to, right? Or not trialing what you're going to eat prior to. And also considering, are you taking the actual written test and then later in the day taking the CPAT, right? So maybe people are taking the written test at 7, 8 a.m. and then they're taking the CPAT at noon and they didn't eat breakfast, they didn't eat anything, and they're bonking out during the CPAT. So things like applesauce pouches, full sugar Gatorade, like 8 to 12 ounces prior to, a fig bar, a Cliff bar about 15 to 30 minutes before usually is enough to get you to push through that test, but also make sure that you're not going to get nauseous or throw up, right? So, and that's kind of the biggest thing that I want my CPAT participants to understand is make sure you eat something prior to that test.
And I know it'd be the same principle for in Ohio. It's called the firefighter mile. So they got to do that physical, but it'd be the same concept with all the same, food and just having the energy, because going through those exams in the past, you're right, you don't necessarily know what to eat. And sometimes if you are taking it, like when I had to do it in the morning time, I didn't really want to eat, you don't really feel like it. And it's detrimental for sure.
Yeah. And I hear that at all stages of the career, whether it's CPAT, recruits are also usually doing PT early in the morning or out in the field, right? And people say, well, I just can't stick to my workouts anymore. The weights feel heavier. It's like I'm running through sludge. I just don't have the willpower because their workouts aren't fun anymore. Like when your workouts start sucking, like it's like, why do this? I'm not even enjoying it, right? So you find ways to get out of it. Whereas when we add like an applesauce pouch, a fig bar, a full sugar Gatorade of like 8 to 12 ounces, suddenly they have the energy to push. Their workouts are enjoyable again, and they actually get more consistent with like a 40-calorie packet of applesauce that they just pulled out of their toddler's, diaper bag. So, and everybody teases me for it, but I can't tell you how many times I've gotten so much feedback on the applesauce pouches about how that's made such a huge difference in people's workouts. And then once we get them on the applesauce, then we get them on smoothie pouches and things like that.
That's pretty awesome. I mean,
never had one.
Yeah.
Have you had
Just
one?
know the correlation between like eating a little bit and actually enjoying your workout. You wouldn't think that there's necessarily that direct correlation, but
yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Well,
so you talked about supplements a little bit, and powdered greens and stuff like that. What's your overall view of those? We see a lot of them in the fire station, and I don't want to equate them with energy drinks because we could talk about that all day and talk about it later, I guess, on a different. But what's your general take on supplements and greens and all that?
Yeah, I think with supplements. So candidly, like I used to do bodybuilding. Like I love supplements because like they're marketed to fix my whole life, right? Like I'm like, yes, I want all of that. I want gains. I want to be shredded. I want to be able to pick up a car. Like I want to do all of that. And these supplements like kind of promise you that. The challenge is, yes, these industries are regulated by the FTC and the FDA, but they're typically marked, they're not pulled, they're not regulated prior to the supplement going to the market. So a great case of this is, I don't know if you guys remember, like 15 years ago, we had a supplement called Jacked 3D, which was like a pre-workout supplement. Mm-hmm. Some might call it the cocaine of pre-workouts. Mm-hmm. And basically it had an illegal substance in it and continued to be sold until it was pulled from the market and reformulated. So they don't pull things until after they've been on the market for a while. So there's a level of risk that you're doing when you take any type of supplement or any type of product with a supplements facts label. So of course, my first responders ignore all of that entirely because again, they want the benefit, but the benefit actually comes from majority the food choices you're making and the timing of those foods. That's the bulk of your results. And then also sleep and like what your training protocol is. The supplements is kind of just like the sprinkles on top of a cupcake, right? And not to say that there are some supplements that I like. The greens powders aren't my favorite, just because if you're spending $80 a month on greens powders, I'd rather you spend it on convenience fruits and vegetables, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're not the same benefit, right? They're like micro dosing, small bits of like fruit and veggie dust, and that's just not really the same. But some supplements that I like my first responders to consider is creatine monohydrate. Are you guys familiar with that?
Yeah.
Yep. So creatine monohydrate is pretty well studied in the general population, but there are also some emerging studies specifically on firefighters. My friend Annette Zapp just helped with a paper on creatine use in firefighters specifically, if you want a whole paper dedicated to that. But creatine monohydrate is 3 amino acids that can help with strength and power. But what a lot of first responders don't realize is there's now emerging evidence that it can help with mental fatigue, which is first responders, right? So we not only see benefits from the muscle and strength standpoint, we also see benefit from the mental fatigue side of things. So this is in a dose of 5 grams of creatine every day for forever. And if you're new to creatine, it'll take about 3 to 4 weeks before you start to see the benefit, because you're basically saturating your muscle stores with creatine, and that takes a little bit of time of being consistent. You may notice a small weight fluctuation of about 2 to 4 pounds. You might feel a little bit like bloated, or like at least your chest and your arms feel a little bit bigger as the water goes into the muscles, but that is not necessarily a negative thing.
You said it was five grams a day and forever.
Yep. Forever.
Did you share a sheet on that? I feel like I read something about that. There were on LinkedIn.
I mean,
yeah.
Possibly.
I think I read something about how it was actually that creatine was actually beneficial for, because back in the day when you worked out working out on shift, you would always take it, and obviously as a pre-workout and whatever else. But
I've added that to my daily routine every morning. Yeah.
Oh, really?
And it's exactly what you said, Megan. I started maybe 2 months ago, I guess, and I didn't. And it took about 2 or 3 weeks is when I actually kind of started to notice a difference. I think it took that long to kind of saturate in your body. And I read the same thing on the mental acuity, we'll say. I don't want to say mental health, but and the analogy that I saw on it was basically it was equating your brain to a muscle, and it's like, hey, it helps your muscles, so it's going to help your brain too. And it's
have you noticed a difference?
Oh yeah, I feel like a genius.
Yeah, you're like locked in alpha brain and all this other.
Everybody starts loading their cart up with creatine. Yeah.
No, but I think it has helped, and I don't know. I'm assuming it's just like I didn't feel the need to do that when I was younger, but now getting a little bit older, just with consistency of workouts and now adding that, it's just part of my routine. It's I think half a teaspoon is 5 grams, and put it in the blender bottle, and with a little bit of fiber and that stuff, and I'd call it a day. So
see, what I feel like what's helped me on the mental clarity portion here just in the last few months is just really restricting the amount of sugar intake. I feel like just cutting so much back on the sugar, I feel a lot less bloated and a lot less I don't know, maybe it's just a constant crash, but then it does feel like the brain fog kind of, just goes away over a period of time of just restricting that. Not saying completely no sugar, but where I can do sugar-free, then I certainly do that. And I try to very much be self-conscious about what sugar I take in.
Yeah, a lot of people notice a big difference with that. I feel like, and granted, I don't have like papers on this. For my clients, anecdotally, as they get into their late 30s, 40s, like they just can't handle the sugar that they could have just kind of ridden off of in their 20s, right? And part of that comes down to like sugar is something overeat, so then they're eating too much. And then also, what could you replace that sugar with? Which is like things like that are higher in fiber, your fruits, your veggies, that kind of thing. And what a lot of people don't realize is while fiber can help keep you full, it can help regulate your poops, which the Tech Rescue guys love. And it can help with cholesterol and blood glucose management. But it also can help with mental health and like brain, like just brain health overall, because when it gets broken down in your gut, your little gut bacteria break it down and it releases a short chain fatty acid called butyrate, which is really helpful from a brain health perspective. So fiber is not just one little thing. It actually can benefit your body in so many different ways.
Oh, that makes good sense.
I was hoping you'd bring that up. I had that written down to ask about that gut brain connection, because you hear so much about the importance of your gut biome and all that stuff. And I was hoping you'd bring that up. So that's
how
awesome.
much fiber a day?
So 25 grams for women and 30 to 38 grams per day for men. And I will tell you, if there was a nutrient that I felt most first responders are deficient in, other than like vitamin D, it's going to be fiber, because most people who aren't paying attention are coming to my office at 5 to 10 grams a day.
Okay.
And they're hungry all the time. Their cholesterol might be creeping up, that LDL cholesterol. And fiber actually acts kind of like silly putty. I don't know if you remember in the 90s, we could put it on the newspaper and it would peel off the ink, right? Yep. But it rolls through your arteries and picks up excess LDL cholesterol and excess blood glucose and pushes it out through your poop. So things that are high in fiber are going to be your fruits, veggies, whole grains, right? But beans, legumes, oatmeal. So I love overnight oats for first responders. They're quick, they're convenient, they're easy to make. Things like That's It bars, which are just dried fruit bars mashed into a bar. Those go great in a go bag. Trail mixes are high in fiber. So it's actually not terribly difficult to hit that number. It just comes down to what your strategies are.
Well, I feel like I've seen like Benefiber in sticks, like that you just put in your water. Would that be okay?
Great question. So usually the knee-jerk reaction for first responders when I start talking about fiber is, well, let's just shotgun Metamucil and line up and call it a day.
That's what I'm saying, just easy. I don't want to have to think about this.
You just said it in a nicer way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, Metamucil, Benefiber, they are tools, but I'm mean and I don't count them towards your fiber numbers because I'm a monster. Listen, they are a tool. They have a benefit. They actually can potentially help with blood glucose and LDL cholesterol management, keeping you full, whatever. But when you just supplement with fiber, you're not getting the antioxidants, the vitamins, the minerals, the stuff that can help with recovery and overall health and chronic disease prevention that you're getting with the fruits and the veggies, right?
Yeah.
So we want to focus on those first. But the Benefiber, especially for people who are constipated, can be very effective at loosening things up.
Yeah.
So Megan, let's talk about, so you've got the book coming out with fire engineering. That's going to be a little bit down the road, but do you also have a recipe book right now?
Yeah, that's the free one on my website.
Okay, that's on the website. That's not a printed edition.
No, you can. I mean, a lot of times what stations will do is because it's like 30 to 50 pages. I can't remember how long. It's pretty long. So you do get quite a few recipes out of that recipe book for free, and they just print it off and put it in a binder and they keep it at the station.
I gotcha.
Okay.
So tell us about how did you've got the Fueling Fire podcast, right?
Yes.
And you've got a course of the same name. Tell us how you started those things.
So actually the podcast, so Stephanie White, who's with Firefighter Nation, which is now the wellness subdivision of fire engineering. So it's a relatively new website. They have podcasts, that kind of thing. So I am under that podcast network. So as of right now, it's not its own feed. It's under the Firefighter Nation podcast group, which there's over 10 different podcasts. So my focus with that podcast is to interview health and wellness professionals who understand fire, or dietitians who have special subsets that I want to talk to, specific to hot topics. So I had a girl come in and talk about blood glucose. I had a girl come in and talk about cancer. So really trying to talk about that nutrition piece and bring it to the forefront of first responders' minds in a realistic way. And then the Fueling Fire course, which is a workshop that I can do live or virtually for departments, 4 to 6 hours, which everybody's like, firefighters are not sitting through 4 to 6 hours of nutrition. They do if you bring snacks.
Yeah, I bet they do.
Yeah, they do. And I like to think I'm not boring. I like to make sure that we're always tying it back to this is what the research says. This is how you're supposed to eat. How do I do it when I'm tired and cranky and don't feel like doing it? And that's what that course is.
That's really cool.
And you do presentations at conferences and stuff too, because I feel like Megan would be awesome at the Chiefs conference in Columbus.
Yeah,
because whether it be any of those breakout ones, because this is something I'm telling you, like, you just don't have any sort of focus on it when you're on shift. A lot, and let those people there's those individuals that are just into fitness, into working out, into eating healthy. And then you got everybody else. And everybody else just needs to have just what's going to be simple and easy. And I think that's what you're able to do, very easily, is break it down and make it simple.
Yeah, that's my goal. Like, you guys are so used to having information delivered as like, just suck it up and deal with it. Like, I can't tell you how many like fitness presentations I've sat through in the fire service where it's just like, you're a firefighter and you are supposed to be fit and just deal with it because that's your job. And what that overlooks is like the challenges that the job creates, right? We see mental health disorders. Like, you don't run a pediatric code and come back to the station and eat a salad, right? So those career calls, they add up and they impact your diet, your food choices, your sleep, right? The sleep deprivation impacts food choices, the high stress jobs, the lack of time at home. So you guys are starting off the basement relative to the general population to 110% at every call. So my presentation, so I did over 20 last year at different conferences and departments and that kind of thing, healthy-ish eating for first responders or healthy-ish eating for firefighters. And it's just literally telling people how to eat better on shift in a quick and convenient way. And I'm actually going to be up near you guys in Cincinnati in May. I think it's May. Kentucky Peer Support. They have a, I think it's May 9th. No, it's May 5th. I don't know. It's one of those days.
So that would be just right underneath Cincinnati there. Mm-hmm. Now we can't let you go without you talking about energy drinks. And I will be the first to admit, and everybody that's listening to this podcast that knows me knows that I am terrible about this. And it's because, well, quite honestly, it's the afternoon drag. I feel like it's the only thing that gets me focused at the time. And so maybe if you have any ideas on what could replace these things, and let's just talk about how bad they are or how good they are, actually.
How good they are for the soul.
Right? Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I would be a really bad first responder dietitian if I just came out and said, never have caffeine again, right? Like, you guys would just set me on fire and not put me out. Mm-hmm. So the goal for total caffeine intake over the course of the day is 400 milligrams of caffeine total. So in very itty bitty writing on the back of your energy drink, it will tell you how much caffeine hopefully is in that product, or a quick Google search will do that. Rain at 300.
Yeah, that's a 300 guy. I thought that's what she said. I'm like, 400? That's not good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 400 is the equivalent of 30 to 40 ounces of coffee total in a day, which I think is reasonable. The guys running 4 to 5 calls out at midnight say those are rookie numbers.
30 to 40 ounces per day. Say that again. So
30 to 40 ounces of coffee total.
Okay. Equals one of those energy drinks that Clayton's pounding right now. Okay.
Yeah.
It's close. Yeah. Cause he's doing 300. So listen, the other side of this is like, we're not going to pretend that the energy drinks and like pre-workout powder, the caffeinated ones are healthy. They're not healthy. Right. Not only in the caffeine dose, they can get pretty high, but also the additives are a concern. So taurine, gluconolactone, and geranyl-lactone, there is some evidence that those in it every day can be neurotoxic and potentially increase the risk for Parkinson's disease and other brains, anxiety disorders, and that kind of thing. So, and I mention that because my first responders, they like hear the side effects of having too much caffeine, like anxiety, tremors, heart go boom, and, insomnia. And they're like, yeah, that's a day of the life.
It's a regular day.
It's fine. It's regular day. Like, you're describing my baseline, lady. So, I know my first responders are going to ignore me when it comes to pre-workout and energy drinks, right? Like, they're going to say, screw you, lady. No. So then we go with what's our strength coach calls a better bad decision, right? So a better bad decision goes from, instead of you doing the rain, we would switch to, actually, I've gotten to the sad point in my career where I'm recommending Monsters and Red Bulls because they're half the caffeine of rain, Celsius heat, and bang.
Okay. All right. Well, honestly, I get the smaller can. Usually rain's unique for me today because I usually don't have that. I usually have the C4, or they have the smaller can, the smaller size can of Rockstar, but it is sugar free.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's like, okay, I'm not gonna say it's perfect.
Not perfect, but better bad decision. You're gonna get me on
that. Yeah. As a disclaimer, none of these energy drink companies are paying us for this podcast.
Yeah, no, they're not. And but we're not also hyping them up. We're just saying that we use them. But geez, oh my gosh.
Yeah, you're a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, and honestly, like some of the bestest bad decisions is going to be like an Optimum Nutrition BCA. They have a BCAA energy drink. They have it in a powder, and then they also have it in a can. And then Jocko has like a 90 milligram one. So, here's the thing with the energy drinks. A lot of times what happens is a recruit picks it up in the academy. They do one a day. Then they get out to the 24-hour shifts. They add in the second one to get through the day. Now the guys are lifting before dinner, so we're doing a pre-workout powder. And next thing you know, it's somewhere between 900 to 1,200. I've seen as high as 2,600 milligrams of caffeine in a day.
Cool. Yeah, that's a lot. I could say I don't do that much. But that's a lot. That is really a lot. Right. Okay.
I'm not an energy drink guy.
You're not? Never been?
No.
That's good.
Just coffee or what?
Just coffee. It's bad enough.
You put sugar in that coffee?
Not if I make it myself. If I I stopped, on the way up here and filled up at a gas station, I put a little
sugar
French vanilla cappuccino in there. So
now I will say I had a concerned citizen about my energy drink consumption today, and so I'm at the gas station. I'm getting 2 C4s. They're double stacked, and I'm going up to the counter, and this gentleman, he says, "Hey," he says, you should replace those with cucumber water," and I'm like, okay. So he's like, "You're going to get the same effects." So, okay.
What planet?
I don't know. I'm like, cucumber water. He's like, "Yeah,
vegan?
take a gallon of water, cut up 2 cucumbers, put it in there, let it marinate in the fridge for 2 days." Where he says it gives you the same amount of energy as these energy drinks. Is that true or not true?
Can you imagine if I went to one of the rowdy tech rescue stations and just told them, on your 5th call after midnight, just do some cucumber water?
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
He says, "Hey, throw in some mint too."
He's giving you the secret.
Hey, throw in a couple mint things. Or no. That was when the clerk then at the time was like, "Hey, I seen I don't know, some famous singer, whatever. She says, put in some mint." And he's like, "Oh yeah, you could do some mint or you could do some lemon, but you're gonna have the same results as the C4."
You had a community meeting at the gas station
right there.
Homemade energy drinks.
Yeah, they were like, "This is an intervention."
They do. I feel like they feel obligated to tell me because, it's probably not the best look. That you're in the gas station, you're getting these energy drinks, whatever else, or it's really bad if you're at the dollar store and those little cans that I get, and you buy 24 of them at a time. They're like, "Oh my gosh,
start
this
to
guy."
judge you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, it's that convenience thing, because you have those in that fridge and then being able to meal prep. But I have been trying to find, that's why I did cut down to the littler can. I'm not denying the fact that I got a caffeine issue. I'm really not. I am just being out there with it. But it is what it is. I'll try to be better, but not really.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that, what I actually have people do, if they're at 900 with 3 bangs a day, we get them to the Monsters. I've effectively cut their caffeine in half without taking away the behavior of having the energy drink. Because what most people do is they go to the doctor and the doctor's like, "You're doing too much caffeine, cut it out entirely." So they cut it out entirely. They get the headaches, the flu-like symptoms for 2 to 9 days. They certainly are lasting about 20 minutes in that 2 to 9 day spectrum. And, then they're right back to normal. So we have to talk about, again, progress over perfection there.
Yeah, I would say so. It's a total of 360 for me. Those cans are 180 and 180. I usually do one on the way in and on the way home. So maybe if I could cut one of those out, then that would be a huge, it's still not a great choice, but it'd still be better than where we're at today.
Well, cucumber water.
Or cucumber water.
On the way home.
A couple mints.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that?
It doesn't have any. No.
No.
But it doesn't have any caffeine in it. So I guess if you're dehydrated, it might boost your energy and like lift brain fog because you are dehydrated, but it's not going to provide the caffeine. And caffeine actually reduces fatigue by like pushing adenosine out of the way that builds up over the course of the day, which that sleep pressure that you feel around 4 p.m. So caffeine says, get out of the way, adenosine, and then binds to those receptors and reduces that feeling of fatigue and can improve cognitive and physical performance. So cucumber water is not going to come with, unless there's cucumber water that we are not aware of.
Unless they grow caffeinated cucumbers.
I don't think so.
It sounds like a challenge that I'm willing to try.
Like for my wife, she has no caffeine. She's drank water for I don't even know how long. Now she'll do those drop-ins or whatever else for the water flavoring, but no caffeine. She hasn't had caffeine in a long time.
Yeah, my wife's the same way.
Yeah, that's crazy. I wouldn't be able to survive. There's just no way.
No.
But yeah,
Megan, what about what's your take on fasting? You hear about it, intermittent fasting a lot. And you hear some health benefits between fasts for 24 up to 72 hours. What's your overall take on that?
My take is if you want to perform 110% at every single call, you're not going to be able to do so on a 24-hour fast. You're not going to be able to do that. Even I've had doctors tell my clients to do one meal a day at one of the busiest stations in our county. And we're in DC, like DC area. No, that's going to put them at risk for falling out, right? And that then puts their whole crew at risk. So I think when it comes to intermittent fasting, number one is first responders, they just gravitate towards I'm just going to not eat for 3 days. They do the most extreme version. So what you actually want to start with is the 12-12. So you fast, maybe you eat at lineup and then you fast or then you eat up until 7. And then, you fast from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And then if that works, you're not getting too hangry. It's not impacting your performance. You can keep edging back, increasing that fasting window. But the 16-8 is the most popular one. So that's where you eat starting at noon and stop at 8. But my question is if a box drops at 11, are you going to perform as optimally? And if you tell me no, then it's too extreme, it's too fast, or it's not the right fit for you at the very least on shift. Or we need to keep applesauce pouches, fig bars, something that you can just drink down real quick as you're responding to that call, which I know, again, doesn't sound like the most realistic, but again, we got to make sure that you're keeping the safety of yourself and your crew and the community at the forefront.
I do like the not eating after 8. I do try to do that.
We've seen
my
department's seen it both from the dehydration standpoint and somebody who's on a serious calorie restricted diet. Those effects really came out on structure fires. One guy had to bring down from the roof because he just was done.
He was going down.
And another one we sent to the hospital because he had some electrical activity that didn't look right. When they threw the 12 lead on him. So, and that was what we attributed both of those to.
Now, the department that you're with, Megan, do you keep anything on the rigs? Do they have anything on the rigs that they take to different fires or anything? Like you talked about applesauce pouches or maybe fig bars or whatever. Does the department have, or do you notice that some of the shifts or anything keep that kind of stuff around?
The individual shifts will, the individual first responders will, but it's not like we have. So our safety buggies will keep liquid IV or something like that on there. But there's no department standard, but a lot of them, I do train them to have a go bag with a bunch of different options. There's a relatively inexpensive handout on my website for $8 that gives you a bunch of ideas that are non-perishable to keep in. Basically I get one of those clippable lunch boxes. You clip it into the unit that you're on, and then you have your snacks in case you get stuck on a gas leak for 3 hours. And
I like that.
That's
a great idea. That is a great idea.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So it's all about the small quick wins. And then once I get people with the go bags or the applesauce pouches, then they're more willing to do some more challenging nutrition changes that we can implement from a long-term standpoint.
So your thoughts on liquid IV? Those are liquid IV is good because they have that like no sugar liquid IV and then the sugar one. I think in this part, like on a structured fire, you need the sugar one, don't you?
Exactly. So for my chiefs, my people stocking canteens, rehab units with electrolyte products, when they ask me what the best product is, we want an oral rehydration solution, an ORS product. So these were developed by the World Health Organization for the cholera epidemic, where they didn't have access to IV fluids in large quantities. So they needed to create a product that could be administered orally that would be equal to IV fluids. So drip drop, liquid IV, and fluid tactical ORS are the 3 cost comparisons that you would do. Usually people have to do 3-point cost comparisons before they purchase a product for the department. And these products are equal to IV therapy for mild to moderate dehydration. Equal to IV therapy for mild to moderate dehydration. And I'm repeating that because it's really important to note if your department doesn't allow for purchasing food, right? You can actually classify it as a medical product, and it is safer than starting a line. It's less paperwork than starting a line on someone. So these products contain half the sugar of sports drink and double the sodium. And that formulation is very specific to optimize absorption and get it equal to IV therapy, right? So now that kind of elements, the fire salts, the sugar-free versions of these products, those sell very well because people are trying to go sugar-free because health purposes. But sugar and sodium are performance enhancing in high intensity scenarios like the fire ground. And the sugar actually gives you an additional entry point on the cell called the sodium glucose co-transporter that requires glucose to bind before sodium can bind and then water can follow. So you actually see rehydration at 2 to 3 times as fast as the sugar-free products. So the element, the fire salt, the Relight, they work. They are effective at rehydration. They are not as fast as liquid IV, fluid tactical ORS, or drip drop when we're talking about a dehydrated firefighter who doesn't want to get stuck in rehab jail and they want to go back in the fire.
Wow. That's impressive that it's the same as IV.
Yeah.
It's as effective as that. That's really impressive.
So you recommend in rehab, when they are in rehab, 1 or 2 of those, or just how many?
So ideally you would do, if it's a planned training drill or an academy setting, you're like, a fire control team, FTO, that kind of thing. You want to do 1 of those typically prior to starting whatever you're doing, whatever work you're doing, in an ideal scenario. Now, once you're out in the field, if you want to start that as soon as possible. So maybe that is the first round of rehab, right? Okay. Because a lot of people are showing up dehydrated already.
Yeah, they're already baseline. Yeah, when they're baseline, because even at the fire academy here, they have the color code of your urine when you are in all the restrooms to see where you're at. And it's just kind of a constant reminder to what you are. I'm curious on what those. We'll have to look at those expiration dates on the liquid IV. I wonder how long those last if you bought like a case of them.
It's got to be a long shelf life.
I don't know actually. It's minimum 6 months, and that's the standard for most canteens. I don't know. You guys call them canteens up where you guys are? I don't know. Yeah. We call them canteens.
Yeah. Easy enough. Everybody knows what that is.
So the West Coast doesn't, and they tell me I'm dumb. So.
You're super passionate about this, Megan, and that's what I love about it. And so what made you so passionate? Is your husband a first responder, or how'd you get into the first responder world? What made you so passionate about it?
No, I married an IT guy I picked up in high school, so I have no first responders in my family at all. Basically what happened is I got a job at an OC health clinic as like a wellness manager. And basically fire took to me really quickly. I did the CPAT. It took me a couple times, but I passed the CPAT, 24-hour shifts, ride-alongs, all of that, a lot of time at the academy. And basically I've always wanted to do sports nutrition, and I have a background in corporate wellness. And that's what fire and police nutrition is. It's the general health and wellness. How do I fit this in my general life? But then there's also a performance aspect that I think is really interesting. And for me, I can't be a first responder. I love helping people, but my next best bet is being the food police for the firefighters, I guess. It's basically it.
So they see you coming into the station and they're like, we're going to learn something today. They're happy, and you're going to go over whatever for that day, or what?
I food bribery. them. So usually the way I get into stations is smoothie demos, wrap demos. I used to do dinner demos. Now it's a little bit more challenging. I do them at lunchtime now because it's my daughter's bedtime. Just in that phase of life for now. But yeah, food bribery is how I get into stations.
That makes good sense. What else you got, Josh? You got anything else? We've already taken up an hour of Megan's time. So
what do you have coming up next? Any conferences coming up? You talked about the Cincinnati peer support or the Kentucky peer support one. Anything else?
Yes. So I'll be at FDIC this year. I'm really excited.
Awesome.
It's my first year presenting. So I'm presenting the hydration solution, which will go into detail about hydrating for general shift. And that'll be sponsored by Drip Drop. I have a bunch of different conferences the rest of the year. I can't remember off the top of my head. The one that's closer to y'all in Ohio is going to be that one in Cincinnati, Kentucky peer support. So
that's fantastic. FDIC is pretty close. It's an easy drive too.
Yeah, it is for us.
Yeah, I guess that's probably close for you guys.
Indeed.
I'm in Baltimore. I don't know where I am at any given point.
One thing I did want to ask Megan, you know how firefighters are like, just give me the answer, right? Like,
yes, that's tradition.
Talk about the importance. You talked about having a protein in a plant, and you hear people talking about counting macros and like in general, from a protein standpoint, what do people want to shoot for? What do first responders want to shoot for anyway as a goal?
Yeah, 0.7 to 1 gram per pound. 0.7 if your goal is maintenance or like muscle gain. So like you are in a calorie maintenance or a calorie excess. And then 1 gram per pound, 0.9 to 1 gram per pound if you are going for weight.
You cut out on that last one.
It's looking for calories somewhere.
So
it was, you cut out there for a second. I think it was on our end.
You said 0.7 if you're going for some gains. What was the one?
The 1 gram per pound is when you're in a deficit, a calorie deficit.
Really?
Yes. So the reason for that is when your body's in a calorie deficit, it's looking for calories somewhere, and you want it to be from stuff you can pinch, right? Your body fat, and not from your gains. So if we overfeed with protein, we actually maintain more muscle mass. We keep more of the muscle, and we lose a higher percentage from body fat. So long as you're not trying to we want to lose about basically 0.5 to 1 pound per week, which is 2 to 4 pounds a month, which no first responder wants to hear that. They want 10 pounds a month, or they think they're failing. When in the reality is you want to go slow to keep that muscle around.
Yeah, that's counterintuitive with the protein goals. But it makes sense when you explain it like that.
Yes, exactly. So a lot of people think, oh, well, it's supposed to be like Ronnie Coleman told me I was supposed to do 3 grams per pound. Like, okay, like it's not that it's not safe, right? We actually have evidence to say that it's not going to cause kidney or liver dysfunction in people who are healthy. It's just, it then cuts into your carbs. It then cuts into other food choices, which could then impact your performance in other ways. So this is why working with like a dietitian or, even a health coach who understands first responders, understands your goals, can be really helpful, because we're able to zoom out while you're freaking out, in the micros kind of thing.
And most firefighters aren't Ronnie Coleman, right?
No, no. I mean, the anabolic steroids kind of rule a lot of people out. So.
Yeah, that's not great for everyone.
What do you have any takeaways, Megan, that you want to leave us with before we wrap it up here?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we're just looking for progress over perfection here. Small, quick wins. It's okay to start small. You don't have to change your diet entirely to see progress, right? And if you need support, work with a dietitian or a nutritionist to help see that progress.
Well, we really appreciate your time today, Megan, for joining us on the Triple P. It's been a pleasure. It was easy to reach out to you on LinkedIn. So if you are, interested in connecting with Megan, she is on LinkedIn. That's how we connected and was able to get her on the podcast here. But in the notes of the podcast, I'm also going to have a link to her website where she's got a lot of great, valuable resources. I encourage all of you to go and check it out and at least just talk about it. If anything, start there. Start about, just having a conversation around the kitchen table about how we can maybe make better choices as a group. And just remember what we talked about at the very beginning. If it's easy to graze on healthier things, it's just what's available. So If we can have the healthier choices that are out there rather than the sugar filled or whatever it is out there, it's a little bit easier that way. So thank you for joining us, Megan. Thank you for sticking with us, to all the audience members for the last hour, and we really appreciate it. So take care.
Thank you for tuning in to the Triple P Podcast, premier, professional, and proactive, brought to you by the Ohio Fire Chiefs Association. If you'd like to hear more, follow us on Spotify, Apple, Google, or wherever you get your podcast. And if you feel so inclined, please help us spread the word by telling your fire and EMS friends about this channel.